Hey everyone, it's me Lone. I hope you're having a great day. Today, unfortunately, we have what seems to be some bad Starfield news. Now, I will say from the outset, this piece of news does come from a leak, and as always when it comes to leak, you need to treat them with a grain of salt. However, when it comes to this particular leak, it is coming from a person who does have some credibility to them. I'll explain why in a second so you can make your own judgment call on that. But if you enjoyed this video, all I ask is if you could please join my Discord. The link is in the description below and also in the pinned comment. But let's get right to it. So on Resetera, before the Xbox and Bethesda game showcase that took place last week, this member Horns posted the following. I don't usually have a source for any information, but I heard that Tango Gameworks will be putting out something you can play later today related to their Hi-Fi Rush game. Don't know much else besides that. Maybe this has previously been rumored and I didn't see it. It doesn't matter if anyone believes me, not looking for recognition. If this turns out to be correct, we'll know in a few hours. I will share more of what I was informed. Now, as I said, this went live a few hours before the Xbox and Bethesda game showcase. And lo and behold, at that showcase, as a surprise, we saw that Hi-Fi Rush was announced and it was released that same day, that night after the showcase ended. So it does give credence to this particular poster on Resetera that they were telling the truth, that they actually had a credible source, perhaps within Bethesda or within Xbox, that Hi-Fi Rush was going to be announced at the show and that you'd be able to play it later today. Now, a few things. We knew of the name Hi-Fi Rush before this. This person did not come out and say Hi-Fi Rush is the name of the game. There was a trademark relating to that, so the name Hi-Fi Rush was out there. But from memory, what we didn't really know is, well, I say we, I knew it because I used to work there. But what others in the community didn't know, the public knowledge, they didn't know what the game was, you know, what it was going to be about, let alone that it was going to be announced at the Xbox and Bethesda game showcase, and more to the point that you'd be able to play it that day, right? That was completely unknown. All I've seen that has actually confirmed that before the showcase took place was from this particular member. So if you put two and two together, it seems that Horns on Resetera actually has a legitimate source. And the reason why this is important is because, true to their word, they came out after the Xbox and Bethesda showcase and said, here's some more information. And they shed some light about Starfield, which is the bad news that I alluded to at the beginning of this video. So let's go to that second post. Again on Resetera, they said the following. So this turned out to be true. I was told more that I said I would share. So Microsoft lost tons and tons of money on Azure this fiscal year. They're asking all divisions to blunt the loss. One thing Microsoft has floated for Xbox is releasing Starfield before fiscal year, aka June 2023. Redfall is coming first and is in rough shape still, and probably should use more quality control, but it's still in better shape than Starfield. Bethesda wants more time with Starfield, and if they get their way, Starfield will come in the fall 2023. If Microsoft gets their way, it comes out in this fiscal year. If Starfield comes in June, expect it to be in rough shape. So, there is a lot to talk about when it comes to this particular leak or rumor, whatever you want to call it. First of all, should you believe it? Should you actually believe this to be true or not? I genuinely do not know what the state of Starfield is. I have no inside information. Even if I did, of course, I wouldn't share it. I have zero idea. So I cannot tell you whether this is true or not, whether Starfield is actually in a bad shape or whether it will be in a bad shape if it happened to be released in June. So I'm genuinely just, spitballing here, okay? Now, if this was any other rando on the internet that didn't have any credibility, you probably wouldn't believe it, right? And rightly so, because you need, as I said before, treat everything with a grain of salt when it doesn't come from the horse's mouth. However, as I just covered before, this person clearly has some credibility. They clearly had someone that told them very legitimate information that Hi-Fi Rush was going to be announced at the showcase and also released that day to be able to play. And that was a secret that Bethesda clearly held right close to their chest and no one else knew about, seemingly aside from this person, right? So you have to believe, at least with regards to that specific bit of information, that that person had a legitimate source, whether in Bethesda or whether in Xbox, okay? It is the only conclusion that you can draw unless you believe that they somehow were able to guess that a game that no one expected to be at the show would be at the show and that it would be released later that day. That is the most crazy speculation, and no one else guessed that. So I cannot believe that it's false. It seems to be true to me. But that does not mean that this piece of information is true. And it also doesn't rule out the possibility, and I'm not accusing this person of being a liar, but it doesn't rule out the possibility that they might be, whether lying or stretching the truth in this particular post. We don't know. And again, I'm not accusing that person of it, but we don't know. There is nothing else that we can go off aside from the fact that they were right about that fact about Hi-Fi Rush before. So we really don't know how true this particular piece of information is. But let's say that it is. And personally, I actually am believing this person because, as I said, that Hi-Fi Rush, rumor or secret was so closely guarded. Like, no one knew about it. So I tend to believe it, at least I'm leaning that way. But hypothetically, let's say we do take it to be true. Does it mean that Starfield is in rough shape? Literally every game in existence before they release, especially in that 6 months window, is in rough shape. If you know anything about game dev, you know how quickly a game can come together in that last 6 months before release. It is seemingly magical sometimes. Games are always like that. And from what we've heard about Starfield, start to end, the game is finished and they're just working on fixing bugs, right? And there's probably going to be a lot of them with all the improvements that they made to the engine, with how big this game is going to be. There is obviously going to be a lot of bugs that Bethesda Game Studios needs to fix when it comes to Starfield. So if someone actually said to me, if they were at the Bethesda, yeah, Starfield's not in a good shape, of course I'd believe them, because barely any game is in a good shape, whether 4 or 5 months, however much it is, out from launch. It is not a surprise that is the case, okay? But with that being said, might this actually delay the game beyond the first half of this year like we were promised previously? I genuinely think that there is a chance. Anyone that believes that Starfield is still coming out, whether in March or April, now before Redfall, I think you need to temper your expectations. I do not think this game is coming out before Redfall. There's just no way. Just from a practical standpoint, we haven't seen anything about Starfield this year. We've seen a bunch of the stuff about Redfall. How could you believe that Starfield's coming before Redfall? To me, that just does not make sense, as I've said in previous videos, right? So at the very least, in my opinion, you probably should expect this game at earliest in June. And I've said 6th of June many times. That is my official prediction. Yes, it's on the same day as Diablo, but Horns also said that Diablo is in rough shape and the 6/6 release date is also questionable. Whether you believe them on that or not, I don't know, but Diablo might actually miss that 6/6 date, which might leave it open for Todd to release on 6/6 and get the date that he wants, right? If that is a date that he wants. I say that he likes it because you don't need to change the day in the month. So at earliest, I think we need to expect this game in June. But yes, there is every possibility that Starfield is delayed, right? You can't not expect that. I think a lot of people, I was definitely, I'll speak for myself here, I was definitely very surprised that Starfield missed the first date back in June of last year. And I can't sit here and say, well, it's definitely not going to be delayed again. Like, expect anything now. If they delayed it once, they'll delay it again. They are not going to have a repeat of Fallout 76. Absolutely not. If Todd says to Microsoft and to Xbox, this game cannot come out in the first half of this year, it will not come out in the first half of this year. Bethesda Game Studios will not risk their reputation a second time. There is literally, in my eyes, zero chance, right? So I think if it needs to get delayed, it will get delayed, and fall does make sense. Heck, November of this year makes sense. Does it put Xbox in a bind? Yes. Does it put Microsoft in a bind? Seemingly yes. But I also question, how the performance of a completely separate division in Microsoft might affect when a game is released in the Xbox division. Yes, on paper it seems to make sense, but I don't think the company would quite work that way. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But really what I do want to stress and what I want to end this video on is that I don't think we should worry that Starfield is in a rough shape right now, if it actually is, if this person is to be believed, because I certainly believe that. I expect that game to have so many bugs right now, just because of the nature of video games development, just because of the nature of the games that BGS develop, right? But I'm still going to hold out on that June release date. Genuinely, I am. Rule out, in my opinion, rule out before Redfall, rule out a March or April release date. I said before, if it comes out in March or April, I will legitimately sing the Fallout New Coca-Cola song on this channel. I'll upload a video of me singing it. That is a promise. But I think it's going to be June. There is a chance, I believe, that it might get delayed beyond that, but I think Todd and Xbox are going to stick to their word that this game comes out in the first half of this year. But anyways, Waysanders, let me know your thoughts. This is a tough one because you have to make your mind up, whether you believe this particular leak or rumor or not. But take it as a hypothetical as well in the comments. Let me know what you think, whether you think this is true. And if it does turn out to be true, or, hypothetically, if it is true, what do you think of that? What do you think about Starfield being in a rough shape? What do you think about Starfield potentially being delayed? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, this has been Alone. Please take care of yourselves. And would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.